Hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Philip Woodcock. I'm with Vectors, and today we're going to talk about taking a line to a road. So what we're starting with here is a pretty standard RTK survey where we've got a topography and a center line that are laid out here. So first thing I'm going to do is shut off all the raw data, and I'm going to get rid of the points, and I'm going to get rid of the surface. So all that we're looking at is our line. The properties on that, we see that that is a standard 3D polyline, and it is representative of the center line of where we're going to be designing our road at. So this is a 3D line. A lot of times you're going to get a line that is only 2D, and if that's the case, you can still use it. You're going to have to define the vertical aspect of your alignment when we get there, but you can do it. So as we get started here, the first thing that we're going to do is turn this into an alignment. So if you move to your Corridors tab, then hit Create Alignment. Shut my properties. And we'll call this one. Put it on a new layer, which we'll call New Road. Okay, so when we're doing this, we have choices as we're creating the alignment. But since we want to go from an existing line, we're going to choose the define individual line segments, use an existing line option. So then we'll move down into our selection area and then come and select our line. Once we have that selected, click OK, and that brings up your horizontal alignment by segment editor. And anything that is in blue, you can change. And if you want to take a look at the vertical alignment, you switch to the vertical tab on the left-hand side here. And this one was based on stations and elevations, so those are grade breaks. If you were starting from a 2D line and you had the information to go ahead and enter in the vertical curves, then you could define your vertical alignment by your vertical curves. So once we've looked at this, then any edits that we want, all we have to do is close it. And now our alignment is created. Okay, so now that we have our alignment created, what we're going to do is, what we can do is go in and manage the nodes of what our template will be. And if you click the Manage Nodes, you can go in and add the different nodes that will be in your design elements. So if I click New, and I can add a new travel lane. Let's call it emergency lane. I don't have an emergency lane yet. And these over here, I'm actually going to define that as a lane edge. And you'll see that I can either define it as a lane edge, a shoulder, or it's undefined. This matters when we take this into intersections, and if you want to develop an intersection or a roundabout, then it needs to be able to match up the lane edges to the lane edges and the shoulders to the shoulder. So that's why you want to define this. If there isn't one of those aspects to it, then you don't have to worry about it. You can leave it undefined. And once you have all of your nodes kind of listed out there, you can just close it, and we're ready to go into creating our corridor. So again, we'll name our corridor. And it has picked our horizontal and vertical alignment based on what we just created out here. And we are going to target our existing surface for our original ground. And we're going to use that as a reference surface. We'll click OK. And now it wants to know where do we want to begin placing our templates. And we'll start at the very beginning of the road, so station 0. And we'll call this R1A. We'll insert this. And now it comes up with my instruction source template to where I can actually start building these. And you'll notice I have instructions at the very bottom. I have a graphical representation of what I'm building in the center, and then I'm looking at my horizontal alignment at the top. So right here is the center line of my road. So the very first instruction that we're going to do is create our first travel lane. So we'll do that by using an offset slope. And we're going to offset from the center line of our road, which is the R1. So our offset will be, let's make it 12 feet at a slope of -2%. Now, if I don't want to do that offset, I can, well, we'll go into node to node later. If I don't want to do the slope as a percent, I could do it as a ratio, or I could actually draw it node to node if I wanted. I can also use a shareable slope table that is based on some definitions that I can create through my slope table command at the beginning. So if I wanted to go ahead and program this all in at one time and just type everything out based on station and slope, I can do it that way. Percent, we're going to -2%. Now here, this is going to be our travel lane. Okay, and then notice that it's going to be that lane edge. And now we'll add it. And now here it is in our graphic. And we have travel lane 1. So we'll keep this a fairly simple road. And so from here we'll go straight into the shoulder. So we're still going to be an offset and slope. We're going to this time come from our previous slope. And our offset this time, let's say it's 10 feet. For our shoulder, but it's at a slope of -4%. All right, and again, I'll pull down this and go ahead and pull down and come to my shoulder. And again, its type is shoulder. So if I was matching up my intersection, my shoulders would match up and my lanes would match up as I went around the intersection corner. These are going to be on my finished layer. I click add. So now I put that shoulder in. Okay. So we got travel lane 1 and our shoulder. So now our next one, we'll stay with this offset slope, but we're going to come down for our drainage. So we'll come from that previous node, and we're going to offset this time 5 feet at a slope of -20. And this we're going to call ditch. Will be our ditch. We'll add that in. All right, and now since we're down and we've got our drainage slope in, let's go ahead and do our catch slope, our side slope. So let's switch our instruction type to side slope. Still coming from that previous node, now we're going to target that existing surface. And let's say that this one is going to be a ratio of 1 to 2, and this one is going to be a ratio of 1 to 5. We'll have a 3-foot ditch. And then again, down here for our name, we're going to call that, actually we'll call that catch. And it's going to tie, it'll automatically pick the direction it wants to tie. But if you need to force it, this is where you would force it, left or right. Okay, so we're going to have this automatic. And we'll add that. Sorry about that. I typed in semicolons instead of colons, so my ratios don't work. That's something that I put here. I apologize about that. You get to talking and not paying attention. So now we got a 3-foot ditch here. Catch, and we'll add that. Now it's added in. Now we've got this right side defined. Okay, so down to our ditch, we've got the 3 feet across, and then we're coming up to our catch point. All right. So now that this side is completely defined, we're going to go ahead and since we haven't used any nodes to draft from, we can mirror that command to the other side. And now we've got a fully defined finished surface. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do here is we need to add in, our subgrade layers. right? And so now we've got a subgrade 1 and a clear cut that we could add into this. So the way that we'll do that is we'll come up here and we'll switch this back to we'll go to an offset and an elevation. We're not going to come from that previous node. We're actually going to go back to that center line. Okay, and our offset is going to be 0. Our elevation, let's make this -1. And then this name, well, I might not have the name for it in my list. So this I'm going to call CL sub and add. So now I've got my center line of my subgrade. Oops. And let's go ahead and back up a section there. Let's go to elevation from R1 and go 0. Elevation is -1. Our name is CL sub. And now I want to actually put that onto my subgrade. Okay. And now I'll add it. So now that's going to be on a different layer. And we don't have to worry about this getting too complex for the data collector to handle, because now you can just work from one layer to the other. So now our next one, again, we'll do another offset elevation. We're not going to come from the previous node, though. Let's go ahead and come from number 2. And again, we're going to go offset as 0, and our elevation was -1. All right, and then this is going to be TL sub. That. And let's go ahead and we're going to take this one out to the shoulder. So offset elevation, and again, we're going to come from our shoulder here. And our offset is 0, our elevation is -1. And this is going to be shoulder sub. Okay. So now we have those added in. Pull this up a little bit. And what we can do is we can then connect those nodes together. So now I can do an offset slope, and I'm going to come from down here, center line of the sub, okay, and now I'm going to go node to node for all of this, all right, and so this node is actually going to be from 8 to 9. Same with our slope. It's going to be from 8 to 9. All right, and that name on that then is going to be our TL sub. And now it's drawn that in. Now we're going to do the same thing from 9 to 10. So we're going to do an offset slope. We're going to come from the previous node this time, that's fine. And we'll go from 9 to 10, and from 9 to 10 for the slope as well. This is going to be our sub shoulder. Okay. And now that I have that done, I can come in and again hit my mirror instructions, but it cannot be mirrored because I've defined stuff on both sides of the center line now. So to continue that drafting on, I need to do the same thing for the other side of the road. So now if I want to do that other side of the road, I'm going to do offset slope, but I'm not going to come from the previous node. I'm going to come back to that CL sub. And then my offset will be from, oops, I'm sorry, we have to create those coming down. So we'll come to offset and elevation. And this time we're going to come from 6, right there. Offset 0, -1. That is our TL sub. Add. Okay. And now we're going to go not from previous node, but we're going to come from 7, 0, -1 foot, and that's going to be our sub shoulder sub. Add. Now we got those points in. So now we'll draw those lines across there. So now we'll come to offset and slope, and we'll come from our CL on our sublayer. Our offset's going to be node to node, and it's going to be from 8 to 13. Okay, do you see that? From 8 to 13. We'll go from 8 to 13. And this is 8, 13. Our TL sub. Just drawing that in, and then we'll continue that on. Now we're going to go from 13 to 14. We'll go from previous node, 13, 14, 13, 14 is our shoulder sub. Okay, now we've added in our subgrade. So we would go on in and we could do that for another layer down to clear cut that across to the bottom of the ditch. So then as we roll through each of those cross sections, we can see how those different elements interact with our existing surface. Now, once you have everything the way you want it, all you have to do is hit close. So now we're happy with our road. We're ready to put it to the data collector. We come to our home ribbon and we export. All right. We're going to come to our corridor tab and we're going to export a Trimble Access Road RXL templates. Once you pick that, you're going to see that it picked your road. It's going to pick your stationing. But what you'll need to do is make sure that you have defined what your station interval is. So do you want this to be every 10 feet, every 20 feet, every 100 feet? You have to define this before it goes out. So let's say we have 25 feet on this. Export. Right, now I have that file, and I go ahead and put it onto a thumb drive and put it into my TSC7, or I put it into my Trimble Connect account, and I automatically have access to it through my TSC7. However I choose to transfer that data, I do. And then now we're going to go ahead and switch over to our Trimble Access. Okay, so when you're inside of your Trimble Access roads, you then just select the road that you want to work with. And under here, we're going to start first by looking at this graphically. All right, so we're going to try the graphical method first. We'll accept that. We'll pick the road that we want. We'll define our target height and the interval that we want to stake. And we'll say we're at 90 degrees. So now, if you can't see your road on your thing, go ahead and hit your zoom extents, and then you'll see your full graphical road. And where this is different is that anywhere that you are, you can get your position relative to the road. You can tap a string and start measuring and staking out to that string, or you can tap a station and begin navigating to that station. So to show you what I mean, we'll go ahead and zoom in. And a little bit, zoom, So when I am looking at this, if I want to see that, okay, well, let's see what station this is. Select. So I select that station. It tells me, okay, this is my station. And if I want to start staking to that, then I can start staking to that. Oh, I don't know what I did wrong with that. Start 89, distance of 115. So let's try that again. Here. So we still need to move out. So we'll try this at okay, so again, once you get close, go ahead and hit your accept. That will lock down your values here and give you a chance to write up your stake. And then when you hit store, that will store it to your stakeout report. So again, from that point, you wanted to say, okay, I want to now select this string and start staking out to it. I'll hit measure. And it's telling me where I'm at in relation to that string. So here's my stationing. Here's how far left I am of it. And here's my cut. So again, if that's where I wanted to be, I could go ahead and hit my accept. That locks down that information. I can then write that up on my stake, and then I can store that for my stakeout report. So the traditional method, let's go ahead and escape here. Escape once more. Back out to our main selected file page, and then we'll go to our options and switch back to old school. Hit accept. Next. Now, here I'm going to go ahead and switch to station offset. Here's all my methods again that I'm used to seeing. Position on road, nearest offset, side slope from alignment. So if I do station and offset, again, I can hit my station plus here if I want. I can do my next left, next right, or I can come out to the side here and hit a list and see what all of my offsets are. So I can pick what I want. And let's say we wanted to do like let's go to center line. And then you hit start. Okay. 80. Okay, so again, as we get close to where we want to be, in this method, if you want to see where you're at in relation to the template, you have to switch to your graphical view, and that will show you where you're currently at and what you're currently aiming for. Again, once you hit your accept, that will lock down your information on this screen to give you a chance to write up your stake and then store it to your report. And that is working with roads inside Trimble Access. So hopefully that helps out as well. If you have any questions, please either contact us directly or leave it in the comments below. If you do like this, please hit the like button and subscribe. We'd love to see more of these done. So they'll be user-based. So if you have a topic that you want to see in the future, leave that in the comments also, and we'd love to hear from you. Take care.